now I'm using the poster board to create what I call the wallpaper for the sides of the marble cascade ramps. And I've already placed a lot of the cascade ramps on, as you can see. It's a little bit hard to tell from this distance, but most of the ramps have the wallpaper on them. Right now I'm just measuring 3/4 of an inch, making hash marks at 3/4 of an inch, then making lines all the way across the paper, across the cardstock. And then I take laser printer paper and crinkle it 3 times. You can see the poster board underneath my hands with the lines across them. I think in the tutorial I said 1-inch strips originally, and but I changed that later. Okay, now I take the poster board and a newspaper, and I'm going to put the glue on the side that doesn't have the lines on it. Because it's a fairly large sheet, I'm going to use a fairly large amount of glue, and I just smear it on. I try to get every square every square centimeter. I was going to say millimeter. Okay, I remove the newspaper and put the crinkled paper down. I place it on the crinkled paper and see that, oh, it's a little too large on one end. That end right there, so I'm going to cut that off. I do a lot of my measuring by eyeballing sizes. That's not always the best way to do it, but it works well enough for me usually. Okay, I press it on the paper, and when I first start pressing it, I also pull the paper. I don't want it to be too super crinkly, because then it's hard to glue things against it when it's too crinkly, and it doesn't look as good. So I just press it thoroughly. Then I flip it over on the newspaper, because there's glue on the other side. I don't want to get the glue on the table. Once I've pressed it, then I want to trim it, but I leave about 1/4 of an inch trim around the entire thing, because I want to fold those edges over. Then I cut the corners right almost flush against the corner. I don't want to get it too flush, because when I fold the trim over the paper, the bare corners might poke through, so I always leave a little space. As you can see, I kind of creased it ahead of time, and then I take glue with the bottle and I just put a line of glue against the cardstock where the cardstock and the paper meet, and then I spread it on like this. I use the cap of the bottle almost as a brush, and I'm not actually squeezing more glue out of it. I'm just using the cap as a brush. Then I press down on the trim. Try to get it as I try to press it down as well as possible. And then I'll cut a strip, and remember the strip is 3/4 of an inch wide. I'm using a scissors instead of the paper cutter because the paper cutter doesn't work very well when there's a layer of glue there, and it's not very good for the blade either. Okay, I'm going to put some of the wallpaper on that little section that I just showed you. That's about all that's left as far as wallpaper goes. All of the other cascades are covered over with what I call wallpaper. It's not, I don't know what else to call it. And I just I measured it, and instead of using the ruler, I measured it by holding the strip against that little section that I'm going to put the wallpaper on. I glue the back of it, and then I press it on, and I hold it in place. The poster board and sometimes cardstock doesn't, it takes a while sometimes for the glue to take. And I'm going to do the same thing. There's a wall that you can't see on the other side of that ramp right there, and so this wallpaper is going to go on the other side of the ramp. Again, I kind of eyeballed the measurement for it, and I glue the back side. This time I'm using the brush instead of the glue bottle. And I'm going to place it with that gray edge on the top because it'll just look better that way. The cascade ramp is already white, so adding that little gray on top is a nice contrast. And there you can see a close-up of it. And here you see wallpaper on the front of it. That's how it looks. And here I put wallpaper on this zipper ramp. I put thin strips, much thinner than 3/4 of an inch, because the zipper ramp is close together, and if I used the 3/4 inch strips, it might block the view of the marble. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is put tower tops onto the